What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Sam Shapiro back here with more of your Heat latest on FanArc. We're going to jump into another What If Wednesday scenario, this one being a three-team trade involving the Celtics, the Heat, and the Kings. This deal involving Tyler Herro going to Boston in exchange for Anthony Simons going to the Kings, and then the Heat getting DeMar DeRozan and Sam Hauser in addition to negotiable draft compensation. And quite honestly, out of some of the trades involving Tyler Herro in terms of those proposals, I think this one you're at least getting somewhat comparable value just because you're at least getting an all-star type scorer in DeRozan. You're getting a three-point shooter, and then you're also getting some draft stock potentially in there as well. The Celtics, I feel like, are really the only ones that truly benefit because it doesn't really seem like they're losing anything in the grand scheme of things. The Kings obviously losing DeMar DeRozan and obviously getting a young guard in Simons, but at this point right now, Simons is not DeMar DeRozan and is not worth kind of coughing up that much, in my opinion. So I think the Kings are really mad in this scenario, and I think the Heat are starting to look at trending towards a potential rebuild and finding another guard to build their offense around overall. So I don't think Miami and the Kings are walking out of this deal happy. That's why I don't think it happens. The only pro to it maybe would be Miami potentially having to avoid paying Tyler Herro closer to what is anticipated that he's going to be asking for when he's an unrestricted free agent, or maybe giving him a bigger extension where they're paying him closer to $35 million per year after the fact. Still on that deal right now where he's getting paid roughly $30 million a year. And while he's still under contract until the 27-28 NBA season, the only pro to maybe considering a deal like that would be Miami would kind of be bailing themselves out of having to fork over that much money. But you're already looking at a scenario where you could ship Terry Rozier off and pretty much not have to pay $25 million, $8, $10 million less than that. So drop in the comments if you think that would maybe be somewhat of a realistic trade. I personally think that would be stupid and ridiculous if Miami actually were to give up Tyler Herro to Boston of all teams, a conference rival. I think that would be absolutely ridiculous. DeRozan, not saying would be a bad asset to acquire, but in exchange for the cornerstone, arguably, of the franchise right now, definitely think that would not be worth it in any way, shape, or form. Even if you added a guy like DeRozan and Kuminga, that's not going to be slapping a Band-Aid on the wound. And who knows if Herro is going to be able to develop defensively in the next season or two. And then if that is the case, then you're really giving up too much, because offensively, he's shown time and time again he's a clutch scorer. He's already proven to be an NBA All-Star. And I just think that you kind of need to give him a little bit more time to develop before you would consider that three-team trade actually being a respectable proposal. So drop in the comments what you think. Always love playing devil's advocate with some of these hypothetical What If Wednesday trade proposals, and I just think this is just another ridiculous one to kind of add to the list. But now moving over to another NBA guard that contributed so much to Miami's success over his career, Mario Chalmers, now competing for a championship in the Big Three 3-on-3 league. And it was just interesting. I saw a reporter asking him in an interview recently, how would you feel winning a championship in this league? And quite honestly, I feel like most basketball fans would say, this is kind of a new league. It's exciting to watch, but it's really there to kind of just give retired NBA players a little bit more longevity playing on a professional level. It's really just kind of giving them another outlet to extend their careers a bit. And I think that's definitely the case for players like, especially teammates like Michael Beasley and Lance Stevenson, who have been playing with Chalmers on the Miami 305. But what really stuck out to me was Chalmers' response to that question, him saying, I would really have a title in every league I've been a part of in my entire basketball career, winning a championship at the high school level, winning at the NCAA level as a Kansas Jayhawk, and then winning 2 titles with the Miami Heat, obviously, back when he was in the NBA. And I just think that that would really be a beautiful thing to see, especially him winning that Big Three title under the name of a Miami Heat team. He's going to be the Big Three championships are August 24th, so we'll just have to wait and see if the Miami 305 can punch their ticket to that game. Got my fingers crossed because they're definitely one of the top teams in the league right now. I would be very excited to see Chalmers, help kind of lead the way for that team. Him being a successful player in this league or in the 3-on-3 league since he's been a part of it, and joining the likes of Michael Beasley, arguably one of the best 3-on-3 players. It's been interesting to see guys like him and Chalmers kind of really add an extension to their careers playing for a team like this, especially with under a Miami named team. So drop in the comments if you'd want to see Chalmers add another title like this or another accolade, being a basketball champion to his basketball resume. I think it'd be very exciting to check that out. And I wish nothing for the best. I hope he can bring home another ring, belt, whatever you want to call it this year. But if it's not this year, then hopefully it may be a season or two to come. But anyway, now moving over to another thing I saw on social media this week. I thought this was very interesting. This was a post from Miami Heat Daily. They were giving their take on Miami's best 10 roster ads over the last 10 years. And this list might surprise some, to be completely honest with you. The number one spot might not be, it didn't really come as a surprise to me when I saw it, but I was a little bit more surprised that the Miami acquiring Jimmy Butler was not number one on the list. It getting the number 2 spot when Miami was finalizing the sign and trade with Philly for Jimmy Butler. It got number 2 on that list. The number 1 spot was when the Cavs traded Dwayne Wade back to the Heat for a protected second-round pick. I mean, Miami didn't have to do anything to get arguably the biggest name in their franchise back on the team, and thankfully he kind of got to end his career on a high note in Miami, ultimately not really making a deep run in the playoffs, but getting to see him play in the 305 one last time personally live for me was a really great experience. It definitely must have been it must have brought a lot of excitement to Dwayne Wade fans, not just in Miami, but all over the country. He's one of the best guards to ever play the game. And the fact that he was able to kind of come back to Miami and end his career there on a high note really speaks for itself. He wasn't one of those players that just signed a 10-year deal with his the career that kind of made him a name in the league. He really got to kind of marinate in ultimately playing with the team that, kind of turned him into the household name he is now. Some of the other acquisitions on this list also ranking out pretty great. Andre Iguodala getting to Miami in a deal through a trade with the Grizzlies. Iguodala, Solomon Hill, and Jay Crowder went to Miami, while Justice Winslow, Dion Waiters, and James Johnson went to Memphis. No draft stock involved in that. Definitely was not the most exciting thing in the world to see a guy like Dion Waiters jumping ship in that regard, but I think it was interesting. Iguodala and Jay Crowder ended up being pretty interesting bench ads for Miami in that trade. And although Waiters Island was very exciting to watch during his time in Miami, it definitely added a lot of depth, I think, to the 305 and what they had to offer. Another interesting trade or another interesting acquisition on this list, already ranking the Norman Powell trade a top 5 move, that getting the number 4 spot on Miami Heat Daily's list. Duncan Robinson getting signed on the 1-year 2-way deal, being the 5th spot, and then the Davion Mitchell being traded from the Raptors for PJ Tucker and a 2nd-round pick in cash, taking the number 6 spot. Overall, just a very interesting list. Caleb Martin getting signed to a 2-way contract, being 7. The trade for Kyle Lowry being 8, and then acquiring the acquisition for Kevin Love at 9, and then Joe Johnson taking the 10 spot. I know I kind of went a little out of order there, but some of those acquisitions over the years, you just think of the depth Miami was able to add and some of the players they were able to develop. Kyle Lowry being a very focal point of Miami when making those deep postseason runs, kind of getting the last best legs of him, really, in my opinion. And then getting great bench guys like I just mentioned, Iguodala and Kevin Love. And then players that have just developed over time, Caleb Martin, Duncan Robinson, and Davion Mitchell a little bit over this second half of this past season. Really seeing those guys kind of come into their own and become focal points for Miami. Obviously, Jimmy Butler being probably the best acquisition behind Dwayne Wade, just because of what Wade meant to the organization as a whole, but Jimmy Butler ultimately being the captain of the ship that was able to punch 2 tickets to the NBA Finals during his time in the 305. So drop in the comments if you think this list might have missed any acquisitions in the last 10 years that would have been that were arguably more beneficial to Miami again over the last 10 years. Some honorable mentions I also forgot: Kelly Olynyk, and then the PJ Tucker 2-year $15 million deal, also gracing the honorable mentions section of that list. Drop in the comments if you think Miami Heat Daily's list missed any great acquisitions that were maybe worth being recognized over the last 10 years. I think the list covered most, if not all of them, pretty well. But drop in the comments if you think maybe they missed out on 1 or 2. And some more exciting news as of recently: Miami Vice is back, baby. The Miami Vice uniforms are making a return to the hardwood for the 2025-26 NBA season. Started off as just, generic black and white with a little bit of some blue and pink, but, really kind of developed into some beautiful vice versa jerseys. As you can see, this one right behind me, one of my absolute favorite jerseys I have in my collection. Happy it's just Tyler Herro and I didn't get a Jimmy Butler one just because unfortunately he's not there anymore. Would have been nice to maybe cop a Bam one too, but unfortunately these jerseys are not cheap. But quite honestly, one of the best alternate jerseys in the entire league, really. They dominated sales when they were first released, and they're going to be brought back next season as a primary option, or excuse me, they were arguably the most popular NBA City Edition jerseys, and they were just they swept off the shelves starting in 2018, and they just honestly, they outsold any other city jersey in the NBA that they had to offer. So I just think that I don't know really why they went away in the first place. I mean, quite honestly, it's a beautiful jersey. I don't know if some people might say the color combination's a little bit flashy or a little bit edgy, and maybe you can't rock it out on the street or just, walking to go to the convenience store here and there. But I thought they were some of the coolest uniform get-ups in the league while Miami graced them on the hardwood. They just got to bring the courts back as well, and I think that would be the perfect cherry on top. Very excited to see the announcement that these jerseys are going to be returning for this upcoming season, and I hope they are going to stay and are not going anywhere anytime soon. Drop in the comments which player you're going to be picking up a Vice jersey for this year. If you're planning on picking up some maybe blue and pink threads, I know I'm going to probably try to either get a Khalil Ware or Bam Adebayo jersey if the opportunity presents itself for me, but we'll kind of just have to see how the season progresses, because who knows what could happen over the course of the season. Maybe there'll be another dark horse player that I fall in love with that I'd rather get some that I'd be rather sporting in blue or pink instead. But that's going to do it for today's episode. Again, be sure to like this video and subscribe for all daily content pertaining to the Miami Heat. Again, hope you have a great Wednesday. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Sam Shapiro. Have a good one.